Heading into Game 2 against the Pirates, the name drawing the most attention from Dodgers fans was once again Shohei Ohtani. With his impressive recent offensive form, the Dodgers star was aiming to continue adding to his home run total and move closer to the 40-homer mark. That is why every Ohtani plate appearance became a focal point, because one good swing could bring him another step closer to that notable milestone. However, instead of being discussed only for his offensive plays, Ohtani became the center of a highly controversial incident on the basepaths. After successfully putting the ball in play and accelerating toward the base, he was suddenly stopped by the Pirates' first baseman in an extremely forceful collision. According to a reporter at the stadium, the player was not simply positioned properly to receive the ball, but deliberately moved into Ohtani's path. The collision occurred just as Ohtani was accelerating, leaving his body almost no time to adjust. Ohtani immediately lost his balance and had to brace himself with his hand against the ground to reduce the impact of the fall. Although using his arm to brace the fall helped him avoid a more serious direct impact, the action itself also carried significant risk. When an athlete is moving quickly and suddenly has to support his full body weight with one arm, the wrist, elbow, and shoulder can all absorb tremendous force. For Ohtani, the concern is even greater because he not only relies on his upper body for hitting, but also needs to maintain the complex mechanics required for pitching. After the collision, Ohtani immediately showed his anger. Unlike his usual tendency to avoid confrontation, this time Ohtani turned around and walked directly toward the Pirates player to demand an explanation. Ohtani reportedly said, "If you want to compete, compete with respect, not with dirty plays." The statement made it very clear why Ohtani reacted so strongly. He was not objecting to the opponent try to get him out. In baseball, runners and defenders always compete aggressively for every base. What Ohtani emphasized was the difference between a hard but legal play and an action that deliberately puts an opponent at risk of injury. Ohtani's reaction also quickly drew the attention of his Dodgers teammates. Several players began moving toward the area of the argument, while members of the Pirates also approached. Within a very short time, the possibility of major confrontation between the two teams emerged. The umpires therefore had to immediately step in, separate the two sides, and order everyone back to their positions. After the game, the incident was reportedly reviewed by MLB. The league reportedly analyzed several factors, including the first baseman's position, Ohtani's running path, the location of the ball, and the exact timing of the collision. Ultimately, MLB reportedly concluded that the Pirates players' actions seriously violated player safety standards and the principles of sportsmanship. The league reportedly decided to permanently ban the Pirates star from competition. That decision naturally generated considerable debate. Some argued that such a punishment was too severe if judged only on a single incident. Supporters of the decision, however, argued that player safety must be the ultimate boundary. If a player deliberately uses violence to remove an opponent from a game instead of making a legitimate baseball play, MLB needs sufficiently strong measures to prevent similar incidents from happening again. The issue became even more sensitive because the player affected was Ohtani, a two-way player of exceptional value to the Dodgers. A single injury to the wrist, shoulder, hip, or knee could affect both his ability to hit and his ability to pitch. As a result, an unnecessary collision could have consequences far greater than simply losing a base or making an out. However, the principle MLB needs to protect should not depend on the player's name. Whether the player involved is Ohtani or anyone else, an intentional act intended to cause injury should be judged by the same standard. That consistency is what ultimately protects the fairness of the league. Before this series, Ohtani had reportedly posted a .357 batting average with 3 home runs over his previous 3 road games against the Rockies, showing that his power at the plate remained very strong. However, over a longer stretch, some of Ohtani's offensive numbers had reportedly declined slightly, suggesting that he had not completely returned to peak physical condition. Ohtani himself had spoken quite clearly about the connection between his left knee and his hitting. After the game against the Pirates, Ohtani reportedly explained that pitching places much greater stress on his body than hitting. He said, "If I had to compare them, pitching puts more stress on my knee, so basically I can still hit without too many problems." The biggest issue reportedly appears when Ohtani goes through his pitching motion and lands on the slope of the mound. That is the moment when the plant leg absorbs force at the end of the delivery, making the discomfort more noticeable. This was also one of the reasons the Dodgers temporarily stopped using him as a pitcher, even though he could still appear regularly in the lineup as the designated hitter. However, that does not mean hitting has been completely unaffected. Ohtani reportedly acknowledged that the clearest difference has appeared in his base running, when his knee does not allow him to accelerate normally. Decisions that are usually calculated based on his maximum speed can become much riskier. He explained, "There are situations where if I can run 100%, I think I'll be safe. But if I can't reach that speed, I can suddenly be out instead. I can feel that difficulty while I'm playing." That comment shows how an injury can affect Ohtani in ways that are not immediately obvious from hitting statistics alone. A runner like Ohtani relies heavily on acceleration, situational awareness, and the ability to pressure the defense. Even a small reduction in speed can completely change the difference between being safe and being out at second base or home plate. Data from Baseball Savant reportedly reflects part of that change. Ohtani's current sprint speed is reportedly 27.7 feet per second. That would be the lowest mark across his 9 seasons of Major League tracking data, suggesting that his running ability has declined noticeably from its peak. Ohtani did not directly state that the entire reduction in speed was caused by his left knee, but the fact that it has occurred during the same period in which he has been managing the injury is certainly notable. When a player can no longer accelerate with the same confidence, both base running strategy and the way the coaching staff uses him on the bases may need to change. Even at the plate, Ohtani has reportedly noticed some differences during the second half of the season. He said there have been balls he thought he hit well enough to be home runs that ultimately ended up as fly balls to the outfield. That suggests timing, lower body force transfer, and contact quality may have been affected slightly. Ohtani reportedly said, "There are some balls I thought I hit for home runs, but they ended up just being fly balls to the outfield. I can feel a little difference like that, but there isn't much I can do about it." Still, the difference isn't very large. That detail is especially notable when considering Ohtani's hitting mechanics. For a power hitter like Ohtani, even a minor change in timing or the ability to transfer force from the legs through the upper body can leave a batted ball a few meters short. At the major league level, that small difference can separate a home run from a warning track flyout. Even so, his recent performance at Coors Field reportedly showed that Ohtani remains capable of producing extremely hard contact. 3 home runs in 3 games demonstrated that even when his body is not in optimal condition, his bat speed and pitch recognition are still good enough to put enormous pressure on opposing pitchers. The most important point is that Ohtani is currently playing with certain physical limitations. His hitting ability appears to be largely unaffected, but base running is not yet completely comfortable, while pitching places the greatest strain on his knee. That explains why the Dodgers continue using him regularly as the designated hitter while remaining extremely cautious about his return to the mound. For the Dodgers, the challenge is to preserve Ohtani's offensive value without placing unnecessary additional stress on his knee. With the postseason getting closer, keeping him healthy enough to continue hitting home runs, reaching base, and gradually working his way back toward pitching is more important than trying to force him back to 100% condition in a short period of time. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to follow the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with the biggest MLB fan you know.